Hey guys, Bob here from Raw Strength and Muscle, and for the first time I am going to do a reaction video to another YouTuber's video. Specifically, Greg Doucette's video talking about the dangers of bodybuilding and how bodybuilding could be made more healthy, okay? I really disagree with just about everything that he says in this video. And I also want to compare his thoughts, not with just mine, but also with Stan Efferding's thoughts in one of his old Rhino rants, okay? So first of all, let's just go ahead and see the premise of what Greg Doucette was talking about, what his whole video is about, and let's also see the premise of the video that I'm referring to by Stan Efferding.
He's 46 years of age and has a heart attack. And you gotta think, how many times does this have to happen before someone actually does something, like something?
If you want to be healthy, don't compete.
So this is where I disagree with Greg Doucette. This is where I agree with Stan Efferding, okay? The point to a sport is to push yourself to the absolute limit that there is, okay? The absolute hardest limit that there is. So if you want to get to a point where you change a sport so that it's healthy, you are basically eliminating the sport, okay? Now, let's not talk about bodybuilding. Let's talk about race car driving. You know, I said in my previous video that people will drive 200 miles an hour, stock car racing, miss a turn, hit a brick wall, and die, okay? Now, how do you make this healthy? You make this healthy by not driving 200 miles an hour. But if you're watching people that drive 50 miles an hour around a racetrack, are you really gonna care? I mean, I don't watch stock car racing. I don't even really watch Formula One racing or any type of racing. But the fact of the matter is you want to see people doing things that you cannot do. You want to see people doing things that you do not dare to do, okay? Like people are scared to drive this fast. They don't have the option to drive this fast. They don't have the car that will drive them this fast, even if they wanted to. So that's what you want to see. Now, if you see a person driving 50 miles an hour around a racetrack, okay, and you drive 70 miles an hour on the interstate, what the fuck is the point to watching those people if they don't even drive as fast as you do? And I'm going to go ahead and talk about it like this. You know, like back in the day, okay, you know, a physique competition, a bodybuilding competition was all guys hanging out on let's say Venice Beach in the 40s, the 50s, used to hang out. They had some rings, they had some pull-up bars, they maybe had some weights. Guys would just train outside, hang out. Hey, I see you lift weights. Hey, let's work out together. And every once in a while, somebody would go ahead and say, hey, let's have a competition. Sure, whatever. We just jump up and, hey, the crowd yells for this guy. The crowd yells a little bit less for this guy. So this guy won, right? All fun, no problem, okay? These days, so much money is involved. So many people are watching. So many people are sponsoring that you need to get damned good. And there's a reason for it, okay? If all you do is just hang out after work and, and do a couple curls on the beach and, you're a little bit less fat than somebody else, you are not going to make it anywhere near into an amateur competition, okay? Much less getting into a professional competition, much less getting into the top level professional competition, much less having a chance of winning, okay? So the fact that it's a competition automatically makes it to the point where people are going to push themselves to the absolute highest level, okay? So how do you go ahead and make, bodybuilding safe? You destroy bodybuilding. NASCAR drivers are only allowed to drive 50 miles an hour. Bodybuilders have to have at least 10% body fat, and they're only allowed to weigh, 185 pounds. That is how you make bodybuilding a healthy sport. But how do you do that and maintain the business model? Because nobody's going to watch a person drive 50 miles an hour, and nobody's going to watch a person that weighs 185 and has 10% body fat. It just ain't going to happen. Okay. As a matter of fact, if you look at the evolution of bodybuilding back in the day, like I said, it was just a fun thing to do. Then you get to the 70s, kind of like the Schwarzenegger, the golden era, where things started to come up a little bit, and guys would take a little, a couple D-balls or whatever, and then they take a little bit of I heard they don't have testosterone back then. They would take Deca or something like that, whatever. Just take a little bit of something to give them a little bit of a benefit. Okay. Guys weren't dropping like flies. They weren't dying. They weren't starving themselves. They weren't dehydrating themselves to the point that their kidneys were breaking down. They weren't killing themselves. All they were doing was just getting in really good shape, okay? They go on a low-carb diet. The steak and eggs diet was back in the 70s, okay? That was the diet that Vince Gironda put, Arnold Schwarzenegger on, for instance, okay? They weren't taking massive amounts of diuretics. They weren't taking massive amounts of amphetamines to stay awake, to be able to function on these crazy diets to speed up their metabolism. They weren't taking thyroid hormones. They weren't taking stimulants. They weren't taking clenbuterol. They weren't taking stuff that's literally going to kill them, okay? But it was also a fringe sport back then. I remember Arnold Schwarzenegger wrote in whatever was in his book, or if I read it somewhere else, but he was talking about how he made a couple $1,000s to be Mr. Olympia, the 500th time in a row. And he was disgusted, what am I going to do with this? You made a couple $1,000s. Now these days, people are making considerably more money, not to count sponsorship deals and all the other money they get, okay? So like I said, competition is a lot harder, okay? You cannot go ahead and take a couple D-balls and get down to a reasonable body fat percentage and build a reasonable amount of muscle like you were able to back in the 70s and have anybody want to see that, okay? So basically the bottom line is, like Stan Efferding said, if you want to be healthy, don't compete, because all types of competition are inherently unhealthy. Now, if you disagree with me when I say that all types of competition are inherently unhealthy, you go ahead and you check out Greg Doucette's next opinion, which I also disagree with.
So anyone that I think at this point is aspiring to be a bodybuilder, I think you got to really second guess it at this point. If I had kids, which I don't, and they told me they're 20 years old, they're like, man, my dream one day is to be a professional bodybuilder. I want to be like you, Dad. I'd be like, really? If you want to be like me, try bike riding.
Once again, it is not a matter of the sport you do. It is a matter of the level of competition that you're at, okay? So he says, ride a bike. Do you think that the Tour de France bike riders are healthy? Do you think they're natural? Do you think that they do not push themselves to the absolute highest levels possible?
Even cardiovascular fitness, universally accepted as the preeminent measure of heart health, can be detrimental when pursued to a level of competition. After all, the heart is a muscle, and both high intensity and endurance training can create scar tissue and a hypertrophy of the heart muscle, which can cause life-threatening conditions or exacerbate a pre-existing condition.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna tell you this right now. When I was a kid, when I was in the Army, I was really into endurance sports, okay? Just running and swimming and walking with a rucksack and whatever. And I read Scott Tinley's Winning Guide to Sports Endurance, okay? And he talked about, the past, the history of sports endurance. And what he said was the Ironman triathlon in Hawaii. Back in the day when they first started out, they had a name for it. I don't know what it was. It was a drink that they drank while they were competing. Okay, so if you don't know what an Ironman triathlon is, it's a 100-mile bike ride, a marathon, which is a 26.2-mile run, and I don't know how far the swim is, but it's elite level swimming distance, several miles. They do that all at once with no break. What they would do, and when they started out the Ironman triathlon, is they would take a can or a bottle of Coca-Cola, shake it up so the carbonation gets out, and then they would put aspirin in it, shake it up so it dissolved. So basically they were drinking flat Coke with aspirin in it, okay? Do you think that's healthy? Do you think it's healthy to run up and down volcanoes in fucking Hawaii in the heat, 26.2 miles after a century bike ride, a 100-mile bike ride, and then, and then a damn swim of several miles while you're drinking basically this caffeinated, sugary beverage with fucking, aspirin in it so you don't feel the aches and pains? Do you think that's fucking healthy? And that was when they started. That was, like I said, taking a couple D-ball for Arnold back in the days. What we're talking about now is Tour de France, okay? You race every single day up and down hills, and you kill yourself racing for several days in a row against other elite level riders. Don't you think that breaks you down? Let's say you're natural. Do you think that's not gonna break your body down in a way that the human body was not meant to be broken down? Do you not think that you need to be on a little something something to allow your muscles, joints, tendons, and ligaments to survive that? And yes, I'm talking about like steroids, growth hormone, performance-enhancing drugs to keep your body from breaking down. Then on top of that, there's a little thing called EPO. If you don't know what EPO is, it increases your red blood cell count. The good thing about increasing your red blood cell count is you have more red blood cells to carry oxygen and nutrients into your muscles. It increases your endurance, which is why bike riders take it. But at the same time, it also thickens your blood, okay, and may cause you to have a heart attack or a stroke. So what I'm telling you basically is like, it is unhealthy to be a cyclist. It is very healthy to be a cyclist if all you do is ride your bike around once in a while. It's great health. It's very healthy. But we're not talking about that. Bodybuilding is extremely healthy. If you go to the gym a few times a week and you lift weights and you diet and you try to build as much muscle as possible, fuck it, you jump on TRT because I'm 47. When I was 43, things weren't working the way they were, so I needed to jump on TRT. I'm doing great. I'm in great shape. But the fact of the matter is, bodybuilding, healthy, when you go to the professional level, it's unhealthy. It has nothing to do with bodybuilding. It has to do with pushing your body to the absolute limit, which never is going to be unhealthy. And for him to tell his son, don't be a bodybuilder, don't shoot steroids and EPO, and ride your bike up and down a fucking hill in goddamn France every single day for a goddamn fucking week or 2 weeks straight. Okay? That shit is unhealthy. Okay? Do not for a second believe that endurance training is healthy.
For general health, regular exercise has been proven to reduce heart attacks, but extreme vigorous exercise can increase heart attacks up to 7-fold.
Now, once again, like I said, what we're talking about here is not don't do this sport because bodybuilding is unhealthy, do another sport because endurance sports are healthy. Everything is healthy if you move your ass. Bodybuilding's healthy, endurance sports are healthy if you do it in a way to enhance your health. But there comes a time when you don't want to enhance your health, you want to enhance your career, and that's when shit starts to go bad.
Longevity is no longer the goal. Winning is the goal, and it often comes at the sacrifice of both short-term and long-term health.
It has nothing to do with whether you're a bodybuilder or whether you're a damned endurance athlete or even if you're a boxer. Boxing is one of the greatest, best workouts that I have ever done. I mean, jumping rope, stretching, calisthenics, a little bit of weight training, hitting the bag around. It is incredible for your flexibility, your agility, your balance. It will help you age, your endurance, your heart, your lungs, everything's great. Getting punched in the fucking head every goddamn day will cause fucking brain damage. It will cause major concussions. It will cause CTE. It will make you punch drunk. It will fuck your whole life up, okay? And like I said, it has nothing to do with just going out and competing like once a year, twice a year, 3 times a year. But every time you go into a training camp to get ready to go into a boxing fight, a kickboxing fight, an MMA fight, you're going to get punched in the head for weeks on end, okay? I used to do boxing. I still love boxing, but I actually trained in a boxing gym for a little bit. Every single day I came home, I had a headache, and I was wondering why. At one point, I'm like, I'm getting fucking mini concussions. Going in there and sparring and hitting a guy and getting hit, win, lose, or draw, you're going to get hit in a boxing match. Unless you're beating up people who suck and you're really good, in which case you're a gym bully. But if you fucking compete and you train against people who are at your level or above, you're going to get beaten up, win, lose, or draw. The fact of the matter is, that's unhealthy. How is it healthy? Boxing's very healthy, just like bodybuilding and endurance sports. If you go ahead, you hit the bag around, you do your jump rope, you stretch your calisthenics, you do your mitt work, you do your reaction drills, you guys tries to hit you with a pad and you kind of like bob and weave. That's all very healthy. Getting hit in the fucking head is not healthy, whether it's in competition or I think it happens more often, it's more dangerous in training. But you can't fucking compete unless you're gonna get hit in the head. You can't compete without getting hit in the head. You can't compete without sparring, which means getting hit in the head. Yes, there are better ways to train, okay? There is sparring where you're not actually pounding each other. And there are a lot of people, who used to do a lot of hard sparring, and these days they don't do hard sparring, but they're experienced fighters who have years of hard sparring behind them, and these days they don't need as much experience because they got it. But the fact of the matter is that's not how they came up. So once again, like I said, whether it's endurance sports or bodybuilding or boxing or anything else, it has to do with when you reach the level where you are going to compete, that everything starts to go to hell. You push yourself too hard and it becomes unhealthy.
Bodybuilding? I mean, if you're doing it natural, that's one thing. But if you're doing it with PDs, it's quite another.
I can't believe that Greg Doucette is actually saying that natural bodybuilding is healthier than assisted bodybuilding, okay? Now, I agree 100%, I'm gonna talk about this later, that weighing 300 pounds is not healthy. Whether you're 300 pounds of fat, muscle, or somewhere in between, weighing 300 pounds isn't healthy.
There's no safe way to be over 300 pounds. I know, I was there. And no matter how diligent I was, at that weight, I was unhealthy. Elevated cholesterol, elevated liver enzymes, sleep apnea, and elevated blood pressure. Damn near unavoidable at that weight.
And unless you massively abuse steroids, you're not gonna get there. So that's fine, I agree with that 100%. But aside from that, natural bodybuilding is not healthy. First of all, it's not natural. How many people do you think are really natural in a natural bodybuilding competition? And how many think blast shit that will be out of their system like the day of or the day before competition when they get tested? How many people do you think know what they're going to be tested for? How many people do you think know what kind of test they're going to be given and what can get through the test? Okay, so saying that a natural bodybuilder is natural is fucking stupid, first of all. Second, let's go ahead and discuss the fact that there is a lot more to life than just using steroids. Diuretics, okay, amphetamines, cocaine, crystal meth, okay? That is all stuff that people take outside of steroids to make sure that they can function while they're on low calories, that their metabolism stays up when they're on low calories, okay? How about some of the other things people take? Huge amounts of caffeine, which can be dangerous. Ephedrine, which can be dangerous, okay? Clenbuterol, which can be dangerous. Thyroid medication, okay? Do you think all of that is really constantly being tested for in like these quote natural competitions? Do you think they don't take that? Do you think they don't use that? I mean, like I said, just because you're natural, let's say you're 100% natural, fine. Not drinking water for 3 days before a competition to get that really dry look is fucking unhealthy, period, end of story, I don't care what you say. Then on top of that, whether you're natural or not natural, you're probably using some kind of a diuretic. Let's say you go to the damn CVS or the damn Walgreens and you grab yourself some dandelion root or something. It is a diuretic. You're not drinking, plus you're taking a diuretic. Don't tell me that that shit's not dangerous, okay? So I don't understand what he means when he says that natural bodybuilding is suddenly like this, way for people to stay healthy.
Cardio obviously is going to help. One of the reasons I do a lot of cardio and bike race is not just because I love it. I also love to be healthy, and I love to think that perhaps it's undoing some of the damage.
Now, one of the most unhealthy things about bodybuilding, okay, is high blood pressure. And obviously cardio is going to help lower your blood pressure. But the fact of the matter is, the big deal in terms of your actual heart beating, in terms of bodybuilding, in terms of using steroids, is left ventricular hypertrophy. That means this one little section, this one ventricle of your heart hypertrophies. It's like a muscle that grows bigger. That muscle, that cardiac muscle, grows bigger. It becomes like less pliable and it can't do its job right, okay? So the problem is when you use steroids, you have high blood pressure, cardio will help. You also destroy the heart itself. And there's no way in shit that cardio is actually going to help like left ventricular hypertrophy from long-term excessive steroid use. As a matter of fact, like really hard, serious competition level cardio can actually damage your heart even more in addition to the steroids you're already taking.
The Journal of Applied Physiology looked at experienced marathon competitors, and most of those who trained the longest and the hardest had significant scarring of the heart tissue.
I want to be sponsored. Whatever you want. Natural Canada. So, what's that? Then I literally go on PDs, win my pro card, 3 times more people want to hire me as a coach. Income goes up dramatically. Sponsorships through the roof.
Let's talk about money, okay? Greg Doucette's basically implying that you need to compete, you need to be a pro, you need to have your pro card, you need to win a competition in order to make any money out of bodybuilding, and that is absolute bullshit. If you know anything about me, you know I'm a huge fan of the late, great Rich Piana. Rich Piana always used to talk about, don't waste your money chasing a $10 trophy. Okay, you win a competition, everyone thinks it's great. The next day, nobody gives a fuck. Most people don't know who you are. Okay, build a social media following, and you're just gonna have an enormous amount of people who wanna buy your shit and who want to follow you, and you can live off of that very, very, very comfortably. Rich Piana's story is basically, he wanted to compete. He won like a pretty decent show in California. Then he won Mr. California. Then he trained for an entire year for a national level show, was completely devastated, destroyed, that he did not make, like he didn't win, he didn't even come close to winning. So he's like, screw this. He did everything he could possibly do. I mean, he was talking about shooting growth hormone every couple hours and steroids every day. And he was on like one big cycle for a year straight, and the amount of food he was eating and how he manipulated his meal times so he would be fasted when he took his growth hormone, and, you know, got his sleep and perfect, and everything was perfect, and he still didn't win. He said, fuck this, went back to California, worked as a personal trainer, fucked around in day trading, invested in real estate. Since then, he made more and more and more and more money after he failed as a competitive bodybuilder. I didn't know that he was a competitive bodybuilder if he didn't say it in one of his videos, and I didn't give anything resembling a fuck, okay? What happened to him, as a matter of fact, is, you know, Rich Piana used to say that, you know, when he was like coming up in bodybuilding, he had no money, he was trying to train, he was trying to eat, he didn't have any money for anything. And now that he's making money from his businesses, plural, okay, that people are sending him all kinds of shit, like, here, protein powder, try it, and go, sending him meal plans, and like everyone wants to work with him, everyone wants to sponsor him. How he started out was after he quit bodybuilding, the people from Mutant Nutrition went up to him and they're like, we want you to promote our shit. And he's like, I don't even compete anymore. He's like, I don't care, I like your look, I like your personality, I want you to promote fucking our shit. And if you remember the old Mutant commercials that he used to make on YouTube, they were incredible. High level editing and photography and lighting, everything was really cool. He was so motivated. After that, made his own YouTube channel, built that up, got a business partner, selling supplements, selling clothing, meal service, everything. He was fucking balling out of control, as the young people say, okay? Doing really well for himself. And guess what? All after competition. Greg Doucette should know this himself, because he went ahead and did the same thing. You know, he's an IFBB pro. I don't give a fuck. I don't even know where he competed. I don't think he really did any well when he was competing. But he's got 1 million followers. He's got 3 cookbooks, and he charges like $1 million a month for somebody to get coaching from him, even though a lot of his coaching is done by other people. I mean, he's coming up with a supplement line right now. Plus, he's probably making massive cash from his YouTube channel. So why is he saying that, like, oh, you need to be huge and you need to compete to become a fucking, you know, to make any money? All these people that he talks about, okay, all these people that he talks about, his Natty or Not videos, where he talks about somebody's, somebody's diet or somebody's training, like most of them, the ones that are doing really well financially, are not in any way, shape, or form competitors. Like, there's this guy, David Lade. The guy is in incredible physical condition, young kid, great body. He's got enough muscle, but he's very lean, and he's strong as fuck. He doesn't compete in bodybuilding. He doesn't compete in physique competitions. He doesn't even compete in powerlifting competitions. Okay, he could, but he doesn't have to. He's got a massive, massive, massive following, okay? All these 20-something-year-old kids are basically getting in shape, building an Instagram, building a YouTube, building both, and they're living from their notoriety in social media. So why the fuck does Greg Doucette act like you have to be 300 fucking pounds, okay? And you have to be fucking IFBB Pro Mr. Universe winner to be able to get anywhere, okay? Like, I would have been even more impressed by Rich Piana if he weighed like 100 pounds less, okay? And if he was calisthenics based instead of, or martial arts based instead of fucking, instead of being a bodybuilder. Like, as a matter of fact, I was talking about Rich Piana in one of my videos, and somebody posted a comment. They're like, I thought this guy stood against everything that you're into. It's like, yeah, I'm not into using huge amounts of gear, getting big, you know, whatever. I mean, I'm totally against it. I liked Rich Piana because he was a very impressive person. It has nothing to do with him ever having competed or weighing 300 fucking pounds, okay? So like I said, for him to go ahead and say that you have to go ahead and be big and you have to win competitions is fucking stupid. You make money by making a connection with the people who are interested in you as a person, okay? You know, like I said, David Lane, he's big enough to be big, he's lean enough to be lean, he's very strong, doesn't compete in shit, and when people do like a natty or not on him, they say, you know, he probably is on something, but there's nothing saying that you cannot do the same thing without, okay? Like, it's very achievable, very attainable, and that will actually get you closer. Because how many people want to look like Rich Piana? I'm like Rich Piana's biggest fan. I don't want to look anything near like Rich Piana. I don't want to move or be anything like Rich Piana. He cares about being big. He talks down lifting with heavy weights. I like lifting heavy weights, and I don't want to get big. But I followed him because, like I said, he has a personality, he has a presence, and he's accomplished something in his life, and that's what I find motivating. But aside from that, though, to say that, you know, you have to win a competition in order to make money is fucking stupid. And like I said, Greg Doucette right now is probably, with his 1 million followers on YouTube, making more money now than he ever did and ever could have, even if he became Mr. Universe Olympia of the world.
No matter how big you get, you're not going to be satisfied. Human nature to get better than ever, to never stop. No matter how good you get, you're not going to be satisfied. You might imagine your dream physique, you're closing your eyes and you're picturing whoever that is. Whoever it is, once you get there, you then want more.
It's interesting that he mentioned this because I actually talked to my girl about this recently, okay? I was basically telling her about how I don't really want to get bigger and I don't really want to get stronger, okay? And she's like, well, what are you going to do now? Because she said she would get bored in the gym. Like, she's always trying to add a little bit of weight. She's always trying to do a little bit of something here or there, okay? And what I basically told her were a couple things, okay? First of all, what I said is, you know, I want to enjoy being where I'm at. I really worked very, very hard. Okay, I'm at a point right now where I am as strong as I need to be and I'm as big as I need to be, okay? So I don't really have to push to make my entire body bigger and stronger. I mean, I squat 315 for 20 reps. I trap bar dead fucking 500 for 5 reps. I do 5 reps of dips with 180 pounds around my waist. How much stronger do I need to get? How much bigger would I get if I got stronger, okay? You know, there are points that I need to bring up, okay? I had a couple injuries that kept me from working my back, so I want to work on my weighted pull-ups more, etc. I want to increase my endurance more, okay? I really want to hit my endurance like I did years ago. I really want to work more on my karate or my kickboxing, okay? I want my flexibility to be perfect, you know, full splits in every direction, no warm-up, okay? You know, I want to get leaner, okay? Not insanely lean, like I don't want to starve myself for one day, but I want to get leaner and maintain that leanness, okay? So basically I want to maintain what I'm at. I'm 47 years old. I don't want to get any stronger, cause damage to my joints, tendons, ligaments, back, spine, vertebrae. I want to just maintain what I've got, fix up the little small parts of my body that I need to strengthen, get a little bit bigger, get a little bit leaner, and just enjoy my life, okay? I want to run around with my shirt off and be happy. I want to, you know, go around, hit the bag around and feel alive when I'm hitting the bag. I want to have the endurance. I want to feel good. I want to look good. I want to just enjoy my life, and I want to take it out into other areas. So as opposed to killing myself in the gym, killing myself with a diet, I just want to enjoy myself in other areas. I want to build this channel up. I want to build up my Instagram. I want to build up my membership site, you know, the Brotherhood, where I do group coaching, where I put out, you know, information just for those guys within the membership area. I want to build that up. I want to get involved in investing outside of my business. This is all stuff that I want to do, and I don't need to be shooting massive amounts of steroids. I don't need to be taking diuretics. I don't need to be taking amphetamines. I don't need to be taking anything. I just need to worry about longevity, keeping it up, and like I said, picking up the little small parts. You know, my back, my leanness, whatever, okay? Trying to get a little bit better, but just enjoying myself. Making more money. All the work that I'm putting right now into my body, I want to put into building my business, building my investments, making more money, and enjoying the money, okay? That's where I want to go from now. So where he says, like, oh, you're always going to want to get bigger, I said it before, I don't want to look like Rich Piana. Huge fan of Rich Piana. Don't want to look like him. Don't want to be that big. Don't want to train like him. Stan Efferding, I'm a pretty big fan of Stan Efferding. Don't want to be that strong. Don't want to be that big. I'm happy where I'm at. So if he has a problem with like compulsive behavior where he can only, you know, he has to keep pushing himself, That's what he really needs to work on. It's like bigorexia. It's like, reverse anorexia, where like, body dysmorphia. No matter how big you are, you think you're not big enough. Well, he's going to kill himself using that bike too. Okay? Because, the facts of the matter is, I remember when Michael Bisping was going ahead and talking, he was supposed to fight George St. Pierre. He was talking about how he has a resting heart rate of like 42. That is perfect. That's like elite resting heart rate for like a long distance runner. It's also fucking unhealthy. Okay, it's also extremely fucking unhealthy. So the fact of the matter is, when I started researching when he said that, I found out that having that low of a resting heart rate will cause you more than likely to have a pacemaker. As a matter of fact, I was looking up in forums, because I like to look up at forums and find people's experience. And this one guy in a forum, he actually, people were talking about that very subject. He says, yep, he's been a fucking serious endurance athlete his whole life. He's older now and he has a pacemaker. He says he knows the reason he has a pacemaker is because he pushed his body so hard with that endurance training, and he, just had a low resting heart rate his entire life, and now he's got a pacemaker. He said he wouldn't change anything. He loved his sport, he loved his training, he loved his life, and he does not regret what he did, even though it meant that he had a pacemaker, so he's at peace with it. But the fact is, he also said if he didn't push it so hard, if he didn't have a fucking resting heart rate of like 42 for his whole life, he would not have had the pacemaker right now. So if Greg Doucette thinks he's not going to have left ventricular hypertrophy or a heart attack or high blood pressure or a stroke because he doesn't shoot massive amounts of gear and weigh 300 pounds, doesn't mean that he's not going to end up with a fucking pacemaker because he's pushing himself on the bike. And now we're getting right back to what I said in the very beginning of the video, which is it has nothing to do with bodybuilding versus NASCAR driving versus endurance sports versus boxing, which one's the healthiest. It has to do with how hard are you going to push yourself to get to an elite level? Because at an elite level, I don't give a fuck if you sit on your ass in a race car and press the gas. If you push yourself to the absolute limits of fucking sanity, all those sports are going to be extremely fucking dangerous, okay? So it's like they say, what is it? The poison is in the dosage or something like that. Smoke one cigarette, it's not going to kill you. Smoke fucking 2 packs a day, you're going to die. And it's the same thing with fucking riding your little bicycle, Mr. Doucette. So, like I said, I think basically what Mr. Doucette did is he convinced himself that bodybuilding is bad, and now he convinced himself that bike riding is good. But if he goes after, bike riding with a Mr. Olympia training attitude, he's gonna fuck his heart up just as bad as if he fucked his heart up trying to fucking become Mr. Olympia itself. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this long-ass video. Let me know what you think about the new format, doing this reaction to somebody else's video or like discussing somebody else's opinion. First time I tried that, I'm trying to step up with the production value. Excuse the echo if it's still here. I bought a whole bunch of soundproofing, so I'm gonna create another studio in this 4-bedroom house to actually do my podcast and my videos in. That's coming. And definitely, like I said, subscribe if you haven't. Click the little bell for notifications. Let me know what you think about the new format. And I will see you guys in the next video.